We're in choppy waters right now. It's like we're shark fishing off of Montauk. Yesterday we were up 5%, feeling good. All right, people are buying again and everything. This morning, G7 was having a secret meeting. That's, 7 big countries in the G7, all the Federal Reserve's meeting. They said they would take appropriate action, but didn't specify what they were going to do. And the market didn't really like that. They're like, The momentum didn't continue. The market was down about 0.5%, nothing scary, kind of just treading water, like just under the line and everything. Then the Fed, the United States Federal Reserve, comes out and says 50 basis point interest rate cut. And the market shoots up literally instantly. The algorithms, they love that. They feed on the words, feed on the headlines, feed on the articles. They read that text in the news and made those automatic trades. And, we saw that huge bump. Obviously, there's probably some human trading in there as well. But I'm just trying to highlight the kind of volatility that these algos create. And then after we had that about 2% bump, we just, throughout the course of the day, just kept selling, consistently down, ending up down over 700 points. And at one point, we were like over 800 points, maybe even 900 on the Dow. So choppy waters right now. Yesterday, we had over 1,000 points upward. Today, we had over 700 points downward. It's all over the place. But let's take a look at what's actually going on. So coronavirus, we're getting a couple more cases in the United States. Over 100 now. We've got 6 deaths. There's probably more than 100 cases just because we don't have the testing capabilities we need to. Those tests are going out. We're going to be very well stocked and everything. We're going to be able to record and test everybody that needs to be tested. We just haven't up to this point. So it looks like we've got a 6% death rate. We probably have something closer to a 1 or a 2% death rate. So there might be 300-400 cases already active of coronavirus in the United States. But let's remember what this virus actually is. Let's look at the facts. Let's not just be like, pandemic, Let's look at the facts. It's got about a 2% death rate in countries with worse healthcare than we have. So if people can get into hospitals early, if we can test them early, if we can get them just generic antiviral and keep them monitored well, a less than 2% death rate on a flu-like virus, sure, it's scary and it's got this name, COVID-19 and coronavirus and from China, from a bat. It's scary. It's very media intensive. But the fundamentals don't really change anything. So the flu, way worse in amount of cases, in amount of deaths, in negative impact to the economy, kinda. It's way worse, and we're able to deal with it, no problem. Get the flu every year, get your flu shot, wash your hands, all that stuff. Coronavirus is not really, from an unemotional, biased perspective, it's just really not a super crazy illness. Now, I obviously don't want it. I don't want any of you to have it. I want it to be gone. I want there to be no coronavirus. I want everyone to be cured and all that stuff. But we just have to look at the facts. 2% death rate is not that significant, especially because most of those people are old people that are susceptible to that kind of thing if they get an illness. And that death rate is coming from countries that don't have as good healthcare as us. Hubei, the main province of the epidemic, of which 80% of the cases that were in China came from this one single province, had to build hospitals in a couple, literally 3-4 days. They built 2 prefabricated hospitals because they didn't have enough hospital beds to deal with all the people that were getting it. Now, they already have it under control. They're getting about 100 or 200 new cases a day, which is fractional compared to their peak of over 2,000 cases a day. So China has gotten it very under control. That said, they track everyone. They can track who you've been in contact, all that stuff. So they've got a little more data than we have. And that's, the pros and cons of a dictatorship. That is definitely a pro, is if there's a pandemic, you can violate what would be considered human rights violations here. Regardless, China has shown us that this is very, very containable if the proper measures are taking place. And China is a lot more people dense, a lot more outdoor markets and all that stuff. So it's way easier to spread in China. So when we look at the facts and when we're thinking purely on the facts, purely on what the virus actually is, and not focusing on the headlines and the hype, we can see that the virus is scary and it is a real thing, but it is not a massive people killer event that's going to have a massive shake on the world from here on out. We're going to have a treatment and vaccine in a year, plus or minus a couple months. That's kind of the cap of the worst case scenario. So what is the likely case scenario? What are the kind of cases that can happen? What do I think is going to happen? Well, obviously there's the bull case, which is we've got only like maybe max a couple hundred cases. We get it treated. We know everyone who's got it. We tell them to stay, lock them in, get them quarantined, stop the spread in a week or two. Possible? Bull case. Medium case, which is kind of where I fall, we'll see this start to slowly spread, maybe get up to several hundred to maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 cases, just a slow general progression, but it's not going to be a massive, wide-ranged, massive pandemic where all of New York City, 2 million people in New York City have coronavirus and 500,000 deaths and the whole city is ruined. It's not that. It's not going to happen. If you ask me, it's not going to happen based on what has happened in worse countries and based on the death rate of the illness. So I think we'll see some, uptick in cases. We might get to something like 800, 900, 2,000. It's going to be in that kind of range, I think. I'm not discounting the impact it's going to have. It's going to freak a lot of people out, and there is going to be a halt in economic activity. Facebook is closing their conferences down. JP Morgan is testing over 1,000 people staying home. Twitter is encouraging all employees to work from home. If you look at a company like Zoom, which focuses on video conferencing, you can see their stock is flying over this. So there's definitely going to be less people outside, less people traveling, less people buying things out of fear of what can happen, and it's, understood. So there's definitely going to be some sort of impact on GDP and the economy, and then you couple that with China being closed for a quarter, which is what my main thing about coronavirus, what caused me to make that video a while back, where you can go back in the profile. It was 2 weeks from Monday. That video was made on the premise that China was going to have an effect on the global economy because they closed down. I don't think the United States is going to close down. I think we're going to have a much better handle on this from the beginning. It's not coming out of nowhere for us. We've got great hospitals. We've got plenty of hospitals per capita. It's, the outbreak in Seattle is at an elderly facility. So obviously the numbers are going to be a little more extreme there, unfortunately. So we just have to think logically and efficiently about this as much as we can without getting caught up in the headline hype and focusing on coronavirus, massive disease, spreading, epidemic, pandemic. We just got to be like 2% death rate, 80,000 cases in China, highest daily new cases about 2,000, brought down to 100 or 200 a day. Is what it is. They're coming back online. They've showed us they can handle it. Their country was in a lot worse position, got blindsided, didn't have enough hospitals. We've known about this for weeks. We've expected it to get here at some point. We've closed our borders a lot. We don't have people eating bats with coronavirus here. So I think we've got a better control. I do think that there is room for more cases to come out, but I think it will be much more in control and tempered here in the United States. And the market's going to be choppy. It's going to continue to be choppy until it's resolved. But we should have that frame of mind going into the market and making our decisions. Not a time to sell, maybe a time to start buying, but just, be relaxed, be in cash, and when it starts to dim down, you know what to do. Buy those stocks. Until next time, peace.